You know, they say money can't buy happiness. They're wrong. It can buy power. And let me tell you, that's pretty close. My father was a merchant, one of the richest in Athens. He traded in grain, wine, exotic spices from the East. You name it, he sold it. I never had to lift a finger. While other boys were learning a trade or training in the gymnasium, I was learning about accounts, about influence, about how a well-placed bag of silver can open any door. When I came of age, my path was clear. The assembly. All that shouting and voting! What a waste of time, letting the common man, the potter, the farmer, decide the fate of our great city. Madness. No, the real power, the quiet power, was with the oligarchy. It wasn't about being elected. It was about being selected. It was a club, and the price of admission was wealth. My family's fortune wasn't just a key. It was a battering ram that knocked the door right off its hinges. Life at the top was everything I imagined. We decided what ships sailed, what wars were fought, what taxes were levied. We met in private villas, reclining on plush cushions, sipping the finest wine, while the fate of thousands was just casual conversation. We were the shepherds, and the people of Athens were our flock. And sometimes, shepherds have to be firm. My colleagues, they were soft. They talked of the common good, of pleasing the people, pleasing them. You don't please your livestock, you manage them. I was the one who pushed for higher grain taxes when the treasury was low. Who cared if the bakers grumbled? We needed the funds for a new fleet. I was the one who argued against pay for jury duty. Why should we pay commoners to do their civic duty? It only encourages idleness. I made enemies, of course. Lots of them. I'd see them in the agora, their eyes filled with resentment. Whispers followed me down the street. There he is, they'd say, the one who starves our children to build his mansions. Let them whisper. Their opinions were as worthless as their empty pockets. Power isn't about being liked. It's about being respected, or better yet, feared. One of my biggest rivals was a man named Lycomedes. He was old money, like me, but he had this foolish idea of pandering to the mass. He'd make grand speeches in the assembly, promising reforms, talking about democracy and equality. The fool? He didn't understand that giving the people a little power only makes them want more. I made it my mission to undermine him at every turn. I used my influence to block his proposals, spread rumors about his finances, and turned other oligarchs against him. It was a game, and I was winning. My finest moment, or so I thought, was the grain crisis. A plague had struck our suppliers in Egypt, and shipments were delayed. Panic started to spread. The price of bread skyrocketed. The assembly was in chaos. Lycomedes proposed using the state treasury to subsidize grain for the poor. A classic move, trying to buy their love. I saw an opportunity. In a private council, I argued a different path. This wasn't a crisis. It was a business venture. My family had connections with traders in Sicily who had a surplus. Why should the state pay? We, the oligarchs, could personally fund the import. We'd buy the grain, ship it to Athens, and sell it at a significant profit. Of course, it was a perfect solution. We'd be seen as saviors. The city would be fed, and our own coffers would grow even fuller. The council agreed. My logic was undeniable. We'd solve the problem and get richer doing it. The ships arrived. The grain filled the warehouses, but we didn't lower the price. Why would we? The demand was at its peak. We sold it for 3 times what we paid. The profits were astronomical. I built a new villa on the coast, with mosaics that told the story of my triumph. I was untouchable, but the whispers grew louder. They were no longer just whispers. They were angry shouts in the marketplace. Lycomedes, seeing his chance, fanned the flames. He spoke of our greed, our heartlessness. He painted us as vultures feasting on the city's desperation. And the people, the hungry, angry people, they listened. The turning point came during the festival of Deal. I was in the theater, enjoying a play, when the commotion started. A crowd had gathered outside, led by They weren't just shouting anymore. They were carrying torches and clubs. The city guard, whose pay I had recently voted to cut, did little to stop them. My fellow oligarchs scattered, trying to slip away into the night. Some made it. I wasn't so lucky. My reputation had made me a target. They found me trying to escape through a back alley. The faces in the crowd were a blur of rage. These were the same men I'd dismissed as nobodies: the bakers, the dock workers, the stonemasons, the same men whose lives I had toyed with. There was no trial, no debate, just the raw fury of a mob. I saw Lycomedes at the edge of the crowd, his face unreadable. He had unleashed this, but I doubt even he knew how to control it. My wealth, my influence, my power. It all meant nothing. In that moment, I was just a man cornered by the people he had spent a lifetime despising. My last thought was one of pure irony. I had always believed that power came from wealth. But as the mob closed in, I realized the terrible truth. Real power doesn't come from a vault full of silver. It comes from the people. And I had made the fatal mistake of forgetting that. They say money can't buy you happiness. It turns out, it can't buy you life either.